Hey everybody, how the heck are you? I think we are live streaming. Yep, we are. And I got a crazy thumbnail going. Let's see, where is everybody? And there we are. Live chat is up. Let me share a few places. Everybody there. So we're trying something new here. Okay, so my computer must have restarted. Hey everybody, how are you? Nice to see you. Where is everybody? I'm at my my mom's house in Syracuse, New York. And I haven't, and I apologize, I haven't, there's a bunch of us. In fact, I'm hoping Addie, I don't know if you guys remember Addie, who is notice the word was. Hey, Robin from Wichita. She is here. So, Addie, do you want to tell the news? Let me set it up. So, everybody, yes, I am an old guacamole. That wasn't way cool, by the way. So I'm going to set it up a little bit and then pay attention to the chat because I'll let Addie tell you. Addie's been monitoring the chat room. She was homeless. She lived in her car. And now, Addie, you want to type in the update? Don't you love how technology works? I set that all up. There it is. She's not homeless anymore. Addie is no longer homeless. And isn't that great? Isn't that great? So, Ashland, Kentucky. Hi, Gabe. Hey, Alberto in Toronto. I will be there next weekend. Actually, a week from today. And way cool is, yeah, Addie will take care of that. She's monitoring the group, but we all gotta, she's no longer homeless, and I know she was going through a hard time. She's in Minnesota and she's working. Anyways, somebody earlier here asked, how can we help homeless? Anjana, wonderful name, beautiful name. So we'll get into that for a second. So as a few of you may remember, every Sunday night we were doing a show. We were interviewing homeless people like Addie, Amanda, Charlie, a bunch of wonderful people came on the show. And then Kevin, who is the head of homeless healthcare in Baltimore, did an interview. Then I did an interview from Tent City 5, if you were paying attention. And I never set that one live. It was just really rushed. Everybody was wonderful. It didn't really come out that great. And then last weekend was New Year's. The weekend before was Christmas. And I just was not able to, do a feed, but a stream. And then, so tonight, really what I'm testing, if many of you remember, I tested all the equipment in my apartment to see if I could stream. Because I'm doing more remote stuff, I wanted to see if I could do this remote. So I don't have the chat box up in the screen like I normally do. My mom's sneaking in. She's looking in the door. I can see her. She's crawling. Are trying to come in a little bit She's sneaking her head in.
Wow.
Hey, Don, I am no legend. I'm just an old fat guy trying to help other people. North Dakota, you won't make it here if you're homeless in North Dakota. Hey, way cool. I've been to North Dakota, not during the winter. I've been to some crazy places in the winter. Yellowknife, Canada, some other places. Hi, Scott, also from Minnesota. Nice to meet you. The problem, it's crazy cold. And then Muhammad says, I've been homeless, but met the best guy ever. Soon I published my first thriller book. Awesome, Muhammad. Great news. Alberto, I am not a legend, like I said. I think I already answered that. I'm just an old fat guy. Hey, Alex. Well, thank you for your kind words. I am Deathblade. Interesting handle there. I haven't been to San Jose in a while. I need to get there. I don't, so just so you know, how I've been able to fund the travel is I get a gig where I'm working. I'm either teaching marketing or social media or something or consulting, and then somebody brings me in and they fly me in, it's their hotel, and then whenever I have any time, I go run around on the streets and hand out socks and get stories the best I could. So, like, even the last vlog that I did I was brought into Seattle for the Haynes event, and I just came in a little bit early. Thank you, Alberto. And Scott, I'm 56, soon to be 57. So I know you're only as old as you feel. I just did a little treadmill thing. So my big challenge is getting healthy. I've got to get healthy. Yeah. Forgotten Gems. Thank you. So tonight I just figured we'd have a chat. Is that okay with you? I'll answer questions. We'll talk about everything that you'd like to chat about. No real agenda. Sure, Yan. Well, so my homelessness was really caused by 30 years of bad decisions. I just spiraled over time into homelessness. There were some other situations that were beyond my control, but my own homelessness was one thing after another, drugs and alcohol. I have 22 years sober now, so I'm trying to. So Linda asks socks why they need housing. Yes, they do. So there's several videos. I'll just explain briefly, Linda. There's the one with Manda at the Haynes event where we're giving out socks. And I put up a video how to hand out socks to homeless people. I'm not the first person that handed out socks. I know I'm not. It's common. It's more common now. It was very rare 10 years ago when I started. But everybody's handing out food. And so by handing out socks, it was kind of like this silent acknowledgement of what you need. Now, I wish I could hand out underwear. Underwear is the biggest need when it comes to clothing item, but people come in all kinds of sizes, and logistically, I can't fit enough underwear in a backpack of small, medium, large, extra large. It's just not feasible. So socks, pretty much one size fits all. So I make friends, and there's this, the number one thing that you can give to another person, not just homeless person, another person, is your positive attention. And so as I'm traveling, everybody gets socks. I talk to everybody that wants to talk. And if they want to tell their video or share their video and their story, then it helps educate the world about homelessness from the experts. Homeless people, we do not need to, oh, you got me going now. We do not, I sound like a preacher, don't I? We do not need to hear from another politician, from another research professor, from another executive director from some charity, from some reporter. We need to hear from homeless people. So, Linda, I do give out socks, but it's not necessarily, that's the immediate need, and there is a need. But charity alone will not end a social crisis. And what this channel on Invisible People is about is I strongly believe that our inability to relate to homelessness is our biggest obstacle to ending it. If you look at the YouTube comments here, majority of you, it's wonderful. YouTube is known for having nasty comments. And, you know, homelessness is an emotional subject. And I'm always impressed that you guys are so compassionate and so loving. But there's a huge percentage of people that just say, get a job, get a job, get a job. They blame homelessness on the person. The biggest cause of homelessness is lack of affordable housing. I had to borrow money to make my rent last month. You know, if I wasn't able to do that, I'd been in the process of being evicted. That's the cause of homelessness. Yet people blame it on get a job, get a job. Well, who's hiring homeless people? Who do you know that's hiring homeless people that's providing enough wage that they can get out of their situation into an apartment, that's providing a shower and transportation? You know, and there's a lot of other things. So I didn't mean to go into this rant, but that's, you know, I do give out socks, but it's much more. This is about empowering homeless people to have a voice to affect change. Cool. Way cool, says Bob Seeger. I'm going to take that as a compliment because I am old enough to remember Bob Seeger. So let me scroll down. So I love all of your names. That's right, Heather. We need more stories told. Thank you, Addie. And Tara just brought up Tara brought up, if I mispronounced that, I'm sorry. A great point. I mean, there's less and less housing, you know, and that's why we need to amplify the voice of homeless people. So let me just paint a picture for you. Majority of homeless services, they're sharing all this messaging about housing first, which is important, and it's a great model that works to end homelessness. But if people don't have compassion or view homeless people as humans, it'll never work. Invisible People is the only education-based nonprofit in North America working to end homelessness. This is it. And I wasn't able to pay rent last month. So Scott, you shouldn't feel horrible that you're on SSI, you know, SSDI. You shouldn't. You should feel blessed. I mean, there's a lot of people waiting, but if you can't work, you should. Well, first off, Scott, I want to put it, everybody, I believe in the universal income thing. I think everybody should get an apartment, and everybody should get some kind of living wage. Straight up. You know, that should be a right. Housing should be a right. I mean, Scott, you have a right to live. If you can't work, you can't work. And the government has said, here, we're going to support you. So please don't feel guilty about that. Hi, Joshua. I don't know where you live. So if you catch me in some neighborhood, like I'm off to Toronto next, and then in a couple of weeks down to Florida, I think it's Gainesville. Yeah, Alberto, it's crazy hard changing people's minds. So, Stephen, that I get it. I get it. So you hear that a lot. Rent in Los Angeles is way more expensive than Syracuse, New York, or Binghamton, New York. But then there's also the opportunity. So I live in Binghamton, New York, this is where I am now. This is where my mom is. And the city's dying. There's no jobs. Apartments are cheap, but there's no jobs. When you go up to Syracuse, where I live now, there's some jobs. But even then, the apartments are actually getting rather expensive compared to the city. I mean, and you go to a Los Angeles and San Francisco, yes, rents are really high. But also there's a chance of making more money and getting work. There's no perfect place. But the theory that somebody that is homeless can just pick up and move to another area of the country that they can get cheaper rent is not realistic. I mean, I get that. I get why people think that. I get why you said it, and I'm glad you brought it up because it's something that we need to talk about. But it's just not realistic. Yes, Tara just said, you used to live in Binghamton, New York? Oh my gosh. Nobody lives in Binghamton, New York. Very good, important point, Guy. Guy says, people get trapped and they can't move. Also, people get comfortable. So I've been everywhere from Anchorage, Alaska to Tampa, Florida, and 8 different countries. And I've been in situations, and it wasn't so much Alaska, which you would think, gosh, why are you living out in the cold here? But I remember being in Nashville, meeting an older woman living in a tent. The bugs and the mosquitoes were crazy. It was so humid. I couldn't understand why she was living by this river. I mean, it was unbearable to me. And she said, this is where I feel comfortable. I grew up here. And we're people that, we're human. We say we like change, but we don't. Yeah, Wendy, yes, it can all fall apart quickly. Sherry, you're right. Housing first and then wraparound services. Thing is, everything's being cut and, it's getting less and less housing. I mean, homeless services, a few shows back we had Kevin from Healthcare for the Homeless, and he talked about how in the 80s they knew we were going to have a homeless problem because of the affordable housing crisis that was coming, and they didn't do anything, or they did all these stupid failed policies. I mean, we created, not only did we invent, chronic homelessness, we created it. Kevin says for those of you that are working homeless services, Kevin said a great line. He said, the only thing chronic about homelessness is the failed policies that created it. Let me ask you, how many of you do work in social services or homeless services? And if you do, what capacity? Are you communications? Are you an outreach worker? Are you a case manager? Maybe accounting? If you work in homeless services, let me know. Hey, Linda, how are you? I'm off to Toronto next Thursday. I am there Friday and Saturday. There's a called Project Winter Survival that I come up for, and I will be at in Toronto. Hey, Tommy, how are you? Sorry I haven't been doing these every week. It was the holidays and no, Scott, don't stay in your housing. Yeah, Harry, in Fort Worth, Texas. Nice handle there, by the way. Is talking about how they have a city ban on panhandling, where they fine you, which is just really crazy. Hey, Calby Carey? Sure, I do have. My address is 7119 West Sunset Boulevard, number 618, Los Angeles, California, 90046. That's 7119 West Sunset Boulevard, number 618, Los Angeles, California, 90046. It is just a little small box, so if you're sending supplies, I mean, if I greatly appreciate if you're going to send a donation, but right now I can't take supplies at that address. Hopefully sometime I can. Hi, Philadelphia. I got to get down there this winter. Sunshine Girl, you work in social services as a social advocate. Very cool. And other outreach. Do you mind me asking what city? Hi, Tina. If you go to invisiblepeople.tv // donate, there is, you can help us directly. We need all the funding we can get. So let me stop for a second, because it's really cool. I'll give you an example. So, there's a Dallas video where we highlighted the churches in Dallas and the Dallas Public Library, and we did some stories of people out on the street. Now, it's wonderful, but it wasn't intentional. And what I mean by that is an organization flew me in to keynote their breakfast. My background is marketing, so I spoke on marketing, and they paid for the hotel and the flight. And then I went and connected around the city. That's wonderful. It's great. It's how this is run over the years. However, without funding to be intentional, and what I mean by being intentional, Harry just shared about how Fort Worth is arresting homeless people. I would love to call, get in my car or take a bus or take a plane or whatever and go to Fort Worth and tell those stories to bring, all you guys, the army that's being created, to advocate for the people in Fort Worth. That is the ideal of where Invisible People is going, just not there yet. But Tina, thanks for asking. I mean, there's links below in the description. A big way of supporting is just sharing the videos. Another way is, letting people know about this channel. I mean, if you search Google, YouTube, homeless, all these social enterprise videos and homeless enterprise videos come up, and they're not real. I mean, they're real videos, but YouTubers make them because they're popular, and then they sell ad revenue. And, the real homeless videos are on Invisible People. There's no ads. I run some ads on the vlog, being totally transparent. About $49 a month comes in from those ads. But I'm not going to run ads on the interview videos because it just doesn't feel right. It's not right. And I also make everybody a promise that I'm not going to use their video to raise money. So, Okay. Hey, Donald, you know, there is some awful homeless services. There really is. Then there's some homeless services that want to do better and they just don't have the funding. Um, you know, gosh, you look at every sector. You know, Enron ripped off all kinds of people in every sector. It's not just homelessness. There's some really sucky people that take advantage of others. I find it really rare in homeless services. What I do see more of is well-intentioned people either not having the resources they need or not being willing to compromise and work with the community. Let's be real. I mean, there's less housing and less funding for homeless support. I've been doing this for 10 years, and I can't make ends meet doing this. Nobody funds this. I work another job to pay my own rent, you know, and if I was providing direct services, which I do some of, but I'm trying to change educate people so that we can make shelters better and we can create housing. So hi Guy, I've gone through Flint. I tried to connect. I was in Detroit. If you look at the vlogs, and there's a playlist for Invisible People vlogs, I was out with Detroit Street Medicine, which is a wonderful experience. And then I was up in Traverse City, that I would really, it was a wonderful experience. So I would like to come to Flint. So Guy, I think you're saying Guy's Linda's wife, you're a retired social worker. Just wondering, you have a guardian or conservator. I think it depends. I mean, I've seen situations where the court has ordered somebody to step in, and it was badly needed. I've been in situations where the homeless person needed, you know, a guardian to step in, and there was some lawyer activist that blocked it. That was really ridiculous. And then I've been in situations where it works great. I mean, you know, so and you know this, if you're a retired social worker, you know this. People are complicated. Homelessness is complicated. And, you know, so it really depends. I think there's I think that we should make it easier for people to get that service. And I think more social workers or social services agencies provide it. I've been to places in Canada where they have, you know, you take somebody that's been on the streets for 10 years and you expect them to pay rent on time. It's ridiculous. They need a guardian or somebody to come in to help them. And I've seen it very effectively done where it's integrated right into the services. Hopefully that answers your question. Hey, Vink Vink. Nice name. I like that. Vink Vink. Thank you for the compliment. Oh, I scrolled too far. So Brian asks, how do you feel about people living in and out of a good shelter and choosing not to abide by the rules of the shelter and using drugs and not choosing to get better? So, good question. I'm going to answer that probably in a couple of parts. I'm trying to, this one is more of a Q&A, so I'm not trying to stick on any little thing for very long so I can get to all of you. a couple of things, and it sounds like you're talking about a situation you might even be in a shelter yourself. Shelters need to set boundaries and enforce them, and if it's an abstinence-based shelter that you're not supposed to drink and use, they need to enforce it. But the community should have a low barrier shelter someplace. Truth is, people are going to use drugs. Now, to unpack that a little, people abuse drugs to escape from pain. I was a drug addict for 35 years. I was one of the worst of the worst. If you saw me on Hollywood Boulevard when I was homeless, to the other side, you're like, that guy is crazy. You might do that today too, but you won't run as fast as you did years ago. And I couldn't quit. There's no way I could quit. I couldn't go into an abstinence-based shelter. You know what I mean? And there's this point where drugs take over your life. They just take over. There's a, gosh, I forget the title of it. It's on Netflix now. It's about drugs. There's 4 episodes. And they're interviewing a couple. I don't think they're married. And they're talking about how they need $120 a day of heroin just to feel normal. They don't get high anymore. They just need to function. Because if you don't get it, then you get dope sick. So there's a point where the drugs take over, that the person has lost their will. They really have lost their will. And, when that happens, and again, a community should have services for everybody. That's what the continuum of care is supposed to be. You're supposed to have low barrier shelters where people can still drink and use that connects them to services. And then you have an abstinence-based shelter where drugs and alcohol are not allowed. And, so if you watch my last vlog, the one with Manda and Haynes, we toured Tent City 5, which is an abstinent-based tent city where they do not allow drugs, they do not allow alcohol. And then a mile away is another tent city that they allow drinking and using. You see what I'm saying? I mean, some people just are not going to quit. They can't quit, so hopefully that answers your question. Linda, are you like outside walking around where you see this homeless person? Thank you, Addie, for being the most amazing moderator. But I can't see you're no. Yeah, I'm not going to complain that you're not homeless anymore. In fact, it's great that you're inside. Thank you, Paul. So are you. Thank you, everybody that's hanging out. Let me see how many. Let's see. Wow, 77 of you. Wow, that's huge. Yeah, Roe, I think it is, was talking about SROs, and I've been into several SROs in Los Angeles. I haven't been into other parts of the city. They're trying to give them a facelift and upgrade, and they used to be a lot worse. And Financial Freedom for Real People asked, how often do you come across families with children? Too many. But it's so, I'm going to say this, and I hope you guys understand my heart. It's rather easy in this country, in London, in Canada, to find people that are street homeless. They're out on the street. Easy. Families that are homeless, they're there, but they're the hidden homeless. It's harder to find them. And because they're tripling up, doubling. I was in Arkansas. Was it Arkansas? Yeah, Arkansas. And a postman said He was having trouble delivering mail because so many names were at one house. You had 4 or 5 families living in this one house, and it kept on changing, and it was having trouble delivering mail. So, sadly, all homelessness is increasing. So, but a good question. Cap asks, which city handles homelessness the best? Why didn't I see any in Tokyo? Well, I've never been to Tokyo. I've seen some stuff on YouTube about homeless people in Japan. Why you didn't see any, I can't really answer. I can tell you in certain areas of the United States, you're going to travel and not see homeless people. And that's either because the Beverly Hills police, for example, are pushing them on down the road, or they're hidden, like I was just talking to Financial Freedom for Real People. I would like to visit Tokyo someday. Scott, I will. I really will. I've been trying to produce more shows with guests, like Addie. She was homeless. Notice the word was. And she was a guest, I think, on one of my first shows. You can go back and watch it. Charlie, Manda was, I interviewed her from her tent. And I'm going to try to do more. It's been Sunday nights, but it might change. Like next Sunday night, I'm driving back from Toronto. I don't know if I'm going to make it in time, but even like tonight, I wasn't going to do this tonight, but I know I haven't done it for a couple weeks, and Addie messaged me, and I thought about it, and I said, gosh, Addie, if Addie wants to do it, I've got to do it. Couple of beers, 31. I used to go to Phoenix so this summer, if I can figure out a way and raise the money for it, I'm going to travel all around the U.S. and Canada again. I used to hit Phoenix at least once or twice a year. Hey, Jason, thank you. We're going to try to do more. You know what, Eddie? That might happen one of these days. You never know. So, Z Corp Alpha, America 2030. It's interesting. Every year I probably have changed this response. And if you're looking at 2030, we got to do something about affordable housing. We got to, I left Los Angeles 3 years ago, and I knew when I left I would probably never be able to go back. I wouldn't be able to afford a place. The apartment that I had is now probably $500 to $1,000 more a month. I can't make that. I mean, and if I could make that extra money, I'd just be sitting home watching Netflix all day. I wouldn't be having a life. So it's horrible. It's got to be the affordable housing. We gotta do something about affordable housing. The homelessness we're seeing now is a result of affordable housing. I mean, Reagan, I'm not doing the politics thing. I always try to stay away from it here. But Reagan cut $15 billion in HUD funding back in the 80s, and we're seeing that now. Now Trump wants to cut another $7 billion, and he's going to have to. I mean, after the hurricanes, they sent money, rightly so. They should send more to Puerto Rico. It's still horrible. That's where the money should go, but it's got to come from someplace, and you think it's going to come from what they want, like the rich. Do you know, okay, I just said that we're not going to do the politics thing, and here I go on a rant. Do you know this tax cut just approved a credit if you own your own airplane? Do you know the cost to have an airplane? The fuel, a pilot, or even if it's you're a pilot, and then have the plane in a hangar. Do you know how much that costs? And they got a tax credit? End of rant. Yeah. Hey, Miss Twiggy, we have a support group for homeless people. Some of you all may be in here, and you can find it, and everybody. It's just for homeless people. If you're not homeless, please. It's at wearevisible.com. It's a Facebook group for homeless people, just homeless people. So if you're homeless, we'd love to have you. If you're not homeless, just rant here. So, but it's just for homeless people. We'd love to have you, Miss Twiggy. wearevisible.com. Or in Facebook, just type in WAVE, W-A-V, Homeless Support Group, and it will come up. So, Brian, that you're right. Recovery is a big way, and it works for some people. It doesn't work for everybody. We're all different people, and so I'm a big harm reduction believer, and I'm an old dope fiend. So it took me a while to get there. So, couple of beers. So I am not from Canada. I do spend a lot of time in Canada. I've traveled to 24 cities in Canada for the Canadian government. You'll see a bunch of videos on here from Canada, and you just mentioned London. You know what? It's here in the States, there's a disproportionate of African Americans, people of color, where in Canada there's a disproportionate of Indigenous people. And homelessness is a very serious crisis in Canada. I will be in Toronto actually next week. Project Winter Survival. Hey, Alberto, I probably don't look like that now. I have 22 years sober. So next Friday, I will be in Toronto handing out socks. I think it's there's a mall downtown where I try to stay at. And there's a Project Winter Survival that goes on. Hey Linda, if you reach out to me, this text, the chat goes away once I stop this. Eaton Center, that's where I'll be next week. If you look on Invisible People, there's a woman named Jennifer who's in a wheelchair. Jennifer, I'm going to say, I just did Jennifer, it's Jessica. And she's in a wheelchair, and she's still home. I would bet she's still homeless. And I've been trying to get the social service providers to find her, and they say they can't. And here I am from the States, and I visit twice a year, 3 times sometimes, and I can find her each time. You've got to go, Shalom. Yeah. Hey, John, what's up? You're saying we want to blame people over things and don't listen and understand. I'm sorry I didn't see your earlier messages, but just so you guys know, I really try to. You're all scrolling by really fast. I'm not. No, Linda. I'm driving in Thursday. Friday, I will be by Eaton Center handing out socks. I love Chinese food. I won't admit. I won't deny a big treat for me is going to Toronto. There's good Chinese food. And then Saturday, I'm working at Project Winter Survival, where they have, they give out these kits with sleeping bags and hats and socks, but they give them the service providers to hand out. I think it's just wonderful. Your last name's Kamar. I can't pronounce your first name. You just gave me a compliment and respect it back at you. Thanks, bro. And sorry, I just couldn't pronounce your name. Hey, that's Chesko. That's a good idea. What about a quick later vid that takes YouTube questions and answers them? Message them to me. I can do it for you. I don't know exactly what you mean by that. I mean, I like the idea. I don't know what you can do for it. Oh, Kira. Kira, is it? Kira? It's a tough question because sometimes there's this fine line where you're enabling them, and there's a fine line where you're providing support. I really don't want to advise you that I don't know the full story. Where's Akala National Forest? T. Bevington. Where is that? Hey, Guy. Thanks, man. And I think your wife's name is Linda. Thank you both. Yes, her name was Jennifer. Yes. I've seen her every year. Last year she didn't want to do a video, and it was just. I gotta tell you, when I'm traveling and I see a homeless person that I know, I'm overjoyed that I see somebody that I've met before. It's like, hey, it's so great to see you, and then it's so sad because in whatever period of time that is, we couldn't get them out of homelessness. And look at Jennifer. She's sleeping outside. She's still outside in Toronto, and chances are she is. It's freezing cold. The shelters have stairs. She's in a wheelchair. She can't do the shelters because they're not handy capable. And it's just so sad. Well, Christy, my mom's in the other room. Well, she's probably napping, to be honest. I don't think she's doing the... Miki, you said you're couch surfing. SD, like in South Dakota or San Diego. And again, we have a support group for people. If you're homeless, couch surfing, car, whatever, we don't make you, the HUD definition doesn't waive. You can find it at wearevisible.com, wearevisible.com. And I got to tell you, it's only for homeless people. So if you're not homeless, it's just for us. It's a peer support group. Scott, divorces are really, that's one thing that they don't talk about is relationships, and it's divorces, or maybe there's a mother and son or a father and son, and the father dies and he was paying the rent or whatever. Relationships have are a huge cause of homelessness. Lisa Life, that's an interesting idea. It came up today. I shared on social media one of the YouTube comments, one of the most nastiest YouTube comments. That most people, they're wrong. They just think, oh, they got to get a job. No, Addie. She's playing. It's for homeless and formerly homeless people. Wow, we're in South Dakota. So my stepfather, I've been to, what is it, Mitchell, South Dakota has the Corn Palace. So Chesco, it depends on what area. So little, I know, Eddie, a little, well, I'll address that. There's a lack of funding everywhere. There's a lack of funding. I'm a little bit disappointed in Los Angeles because they hired me to come in and help them, and we raised lots of money. And they didn't do the emergency shelters, a lot of them this year. Some of them are underfunded. We, right now it's freezing cold. We need more emergency shelters. Yes, the Corn Palace, Mitchell, South Dakota. How close are you? Hey, Scott, there's donation links, but please, you're on SSDI. You need the money. I mean, gosh, sharing the videos all around, helping to grow this channel is more than enough and greatly appreciated. So American Restoration Initiative. No, it's not. I mean, so some people like me can get a job, but it's getting harder. I mean, our president keeps talking about how the stock market is booming, but it's not. Wages aren't getting more. There really isn't a lot of jobs that are being created in the lower income bracket. And in 5 to 10 years, trucks are going to drive themselves, and there's more trucks than any other profession. We're going to see massive job loss in 10 years in a lot of different professions. So the get a job thing is just, some people, a lot. I think it has to do with how people were raised. It has to do with their environment growing up. And I don't just mean parenting. I mean, if you were, it's called learned helplessness. If you were kept on hitting this wall and never got forward, you give up. And some people are just, the get a job thing, they need some help to do that. So it's just, it drives me crazy. Oh, get a job. They think you need to get a job. They're lazy. My gosh, it's so ridiculous. Yes, the police. Ha! Oh, Tommy, I am going. Can I copy that? I am. Does it let me copy it? Yes. Tommy, I'm going to steal your little addicted. I'm addicted to affordable housing. See ya, Harry. Yeah, I'm going to go pretty soon, too. We've been on for an hour. How many of y'all? Let's see. Wow, there's still 77 people. Awesome. You guys have been hanging right here. I love LA. There's good and bad about every place. Do I have any real good success stories? It depends on what you mean about success stories. Do you mean somebody that got off the streets, or do you want to Pransa? Thank you so much for the super chat donation. I don't ask. Greatly appreciated. So today a homeless mom contacted me because somebody I connected her to. Wait! Addie, the moderator of this group, got housed this week. That is a awesome, really good success story. Hey Lisa, sorry you were homeless. I don't know yet. I really don't yet. Linda's asking what time at Eaton Center. My Twitter is hardly normal, and that's the best way to get a hold of me. And I am going to drive in, and I'm going to drive in Thursday night, and then sometime Friday, I'm trying to meet with one of the street nurses and visit one of the emergency shelters. At Hardly Normal is the one. At Invisible People is the homeless one that's connected to this channel, but At Hardly Normal is mine. So guys, I'm going to wrap it up. It's getting late here. I'm going tomorrow, one thing ironic is almost every city has a tent community called the Jungle. So tomorrow I'm going to the Jungle in Ithaca, which is a rural city in upstate New York. And, Kathy Crow is who I'm going to go connect with. So, I am going to go to the Jungle in Ithaca. I'm told there's about 30 people living outside in the snow and the cold. Linda, I think the links are there, many of them. Not the Hardly Normal one, but the other. Hey, good night, American Restoration Initiative. Thank you, couple of beers. Scott, I would imagine there's tent cities everywhere. We love you too, Financial Freedom. Couple of beers. I've been doing it Sunday night. Last couple of Sunday nights I haven't been able to, just because it was the holidays. Yes, At Hardly Normal. See you, Christy. Good night, Scott. You're going to have to tell me how to pronounce the M-I-C-K-I. I want to say Mickey. Is, Okay, everybody, I'm going to sign off. Thank you, Addie. Once again, everybody, Addie is no longer homeless. And that is awesome. And Addie, thank you again for moderating. I saw you had to bump up. Again, guys, it's so awesome. We get about 1 or 2 trolls a chat, and that's really awesome. Usually it's a lot more. So this is really cool. And again, if you have any, I don't know if I'm going to set this video live afterwards. I may or may not. I haven't decided yet. I'm going to try to get back to the shows as quickly as possible. You guys have all been awesome. If you like this, just chatting, I'll try to do more of it. But if you have any show ideas, tweet me, whatever. Any way you can help to grow this channel. We are, I think, at 71 1,000 subs, and I'm hoping to get a silver play button. I never thought I'd even say that. But this year, you guys, you YouTubers, you have helped grow this channel tremendously. I just give you an example. Last year, we had 500,000 views all year. This year, we had 10 million views. That's because of you. That is awesome. Thank you. Okay, everybody, I'm going to call it. You guys have a wonderful, wonderful evening. And be safe, be kind. Got any feedback? Email me, tweet.